distance of just 27,000 kilometres. It's nearer even than orbiting satellites, though scientists say there is no risk of collision. And this comes hours after an unrelated scare in Russia as a meteor streaked across the sky and exploded, releasing shockwaves with the power of an atomic bomb. Buildings in 6 cities were damaged, injuring nearly 1,000 people. South Africa's Paralympic star Oscar Pistorius has strongly denied murdering his girlfriend Reeva Steenkamp. The statement from his family rejecting the charge followed the athlete's tearful appearance in court in Pretoria. Random tests are to be carried out on meat products across Europe with the presence of horse DNA in food labelled beef. EU officials have also ordered checks for the drug bute, which is used as an equine painkiller. And those are the headlines. You're watching World News Today. I'm Zainab Badawi. Now, if you look up and away from your television screen, you might just be able to see a faint glimmer in the sky. It's a rock the size of an Olympic swimming pool, passing just 27,000 kilometres from the Earth. That is roughly twice the distance between the UK and Australia. And in a day of celestial surprises, a meteor exploded over central Russia, sending fireballs crashing to Earth and injuring nearly 1,000 people. It's thought to be the first meteor strike of this scale for more than a century. Our science editor David Shukman explains.
A dark morning in Russia, the radio on, when out of nowhere a dazzling flash suddenly carves across the sky. A sight that few people have ever seen until now. The terrifying blaze of light as a 10-ton rock hurtles towards Earth. People rush for a look. A huge trail of vapour hangs above them. The rock was burning as it fell. It was also breaking up with explosive force. A powerful shockwave shattered windows. The local people who filmed these scenes say it was like a bomb going off. The damage wasn't caused by the rock itself, but by the extraordinary effect of it blowing apart.
I saw an object moving through the sky. Then there was a flash. We first thought it was fireworks. Then we saw a trace as if from a rocket, followed by an explosion a couple of minutes later.
The hospital soon filled with the injured. Most of them had been cut by flying glass. They'd gone outside to watch the sight and hadn't realised the danger. Across the region, traffic cameras caught the moment the blazing rock suddenly loomed overhead, like a scene from a disaster film. There are thousands of rocks out in space, but usually they pose no danger. Every day pieces fall to Earth, but most burn up in the atmosphere and no one has been killed by one. This morning, a rock a few metres wide flew in, we think from the east, and it broke up over Russia. It caused a lot of damage, but it was too small to spot in advance. By contrast, scientists have been tracking a much larger lump approaching from the south. Now, to give you an idea of its scale, imagine a football stadium. Well, this asteroid would cover about half of the pitch. Now, this rock is due to pass inside the orbit of the most distant satellites, about 17,000 miles above Earth, exceptionally close. There's no risk, but it's a warning of what's out there.
I think events like the asteroid close approach and the Russian meteor always focus people's minds on this. We've known for a long time that there's a lot of stuff out there in space and that sometimes some of it does get close to the Earth or even hits the Earth, and this is just a very timely reminder, and a reminder of why it's important for us to keep scanning the skies and looking out for dangerous objects.
So this remarkable sight in Russia is a wake-up call. This rock wasn't all that big. Just as well, little we can do to protect ourselves. David Shukman, BBC News.
Our main story there. Now, you might remember our interview yesterday with Joel Dyer, whose wife was stranded on the Carnival Triumph cruise liner. Well, the holiday from hell is finally over. More than 3,000 passengers have disembarked after the vessel was pulled into the port of Mobile in Alabama in the United States by a flotilla of tugboats. The ship had been powerless for 5 days, disabled by an engine room fire that led to a sanitation breakdown, food shortages and the inevitable foul smells. With more on this, here's Steve Kingston.
Home at last, the Carnival Triumph, the unfortunately named cruise liner that became a waterborne hell. But back on dry land, they're counting their blessings, and Pope-like, these departing passengers even kissed the Alabama ground. Their trip will live long in the memory, not least those red plastic bags.
It was a first-time experience for me to have to go to the bathroom in a red bag, and you know, when they made the announcement, we were like, okay, really?
Every time the boat listed or leaned, the sewage would spill over. So that was what became the primary problem, is this terrible odor, and the sanitation was just out of control.
Conditions in many cabins were so bad that passengers bedded down in hallways or up on the deck. The fire had knocked out air conditioning and power in the kitchens. There were 3-hour queues for the most basic, non-perishable food. It was a holiday experience some have likened to a natural disaster.
There was like a tent city. Everyone made tents out of sheets, strung up with ropes. It looked like a refugee camp up on top.
I know the conditions on board were very poor. I know it was very difficult. And I want to apologize again for subjecting our guests to that.
He's also giving every passenger a full refund, $500, and credit towards their next cruise. But for many, the memory of this voyage will be enough to last a lifetime. Steve Kingston, BBC News, Washington.
The relieved passengers of the Triumph Carnival. That's it from World News Today. From me, Zainab Badawi, and the team. Goodbye.
Chengdu is the core growth area in Western China, attracting our global customers and us.
We are Maersk. We are in Chengdu, Panda's hometown.